You think you know who your friends are until the night everything changes, until you're standing in their basement, staring at something you were never supposed to see, and the person you trusted is standing behind you, smiling like nothing is wrong. I met Trevor Hollis when I was 15. It was sophomore year at Ridgewood High, one of those sprawling schools where you could disappear into the crowd if you weren't careful. I wasn't popular. I wasn't invisible either, just somewhere in between. Trevor transferred in mid-October, which was weird timing. Most new kids showed up in September or after winter break. But Trevor just appeared one Monday morning like he'd always been there. He sat behind me in history class. Tall, messy brown hair, quiet but not shy. He had this way of watching people, like he was figuring them out before they even spoke. We didn't talk much at first, just the occasional pencil loan or a nod in the hallway. But one day after school, I saw him sitting alone on the bleachers near the track, sketching in a notebook. I don't know why I walked over. Maybe I was bored, maybe I was curious. "What are you drawing?" I asked. He looked up, surprised, then smiled. "People," he said simply, tilting the notebook toward me. It was good, really good. Detailed faces, shading, expressions that looked alive. "That's awesome," I said. "Thanks," he replied. "Most people don't care." We started hanging out after that. At first, it was just after school. We'd grab food at the diner on 5th Street or play video games at my house. Trevor was easy to be around. He listened. He laughed at my jokes. He never judged. By winter, we were best friends. I started spending more time at his place, a big 2-story house on the edge of town, surrounded by trees and gravel roads. His parents were rarely home. His dad worked overseas, something corporate he never talked about. His mom was a nurse who did night shifts at the hospital, so most of the time it was just Trevor. The house was always quiet. Too quiet, like it was holding its breath. One Friday night in January, we were playing Call of Duty in his living room. It was late, maybe 11. I needed to use the bathroom. "Down the hall, second door on the left," Trevor said without looking up from the screen. I walked down the hallway, passing family photos that didn't quite match. The frames were dusty. The smiles looked stiff. I found the bathroom and went in. But when I came out, I noticed something I hadn't before. Another door. At the end of the hall. It was partially open, just a crack, and there was light coming from below. I don't know why I walked toward it. Curiosity, maybe, or instinct. I pushed the door open slowly. It led to a staircase, wooden steps descending into darkness, except for a faint glow at the bottom. I heard something, a soft humming, mechanical, steady, like a refrigerator. "Trevor?" I called out. No answer. I started down the stairs. Each step creaked under my weight. The air grew colder as I descended. The humming got louder. When I reached the bottom, I froze. The basement was bigger than I expected. Clean, organized, but wrong. There was a long metal table in the center of the room, the kind you'd see in a morgue. Tools hung neatly on the wall. Scalpels, saws, clamps, all polished, all sharp. And then I saw the freezer, a massive chest freezer against the far wall, humming steadily. My heart started pounding. I walked toward it slowly, every nerve in my body screaming at me to turn around. I reached the freezer. My hand hovered over the lid. I lifted it. Inside were plastic bags, frozen, labeled with dates and initials. I didn't understand at first. Then I saw one of the bags more clearly. It wasn't meat. It was a hand, human, pale, frozen, fingers curled slightly. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over my own feet. That's when I heard his voice. "You weren't supposed to see that." I spun around. Trevor was standing at the bottom of the stairs, hands in his pockets, expression calm. Too calm. "What the hell is this?" I whispered. He tilted his head like he was thinking. "It's a hobby," he said simply. "A hobby?" "Yeah. People die all the time. I just collect pieces, study them. It's fascinating, really. I couldn't breathe. Trevor, this is insane. You can't. I can, he interrupted. And I do. No one notices. No one cares. These people were already gone. Where did you get them? He smiled faintly. Does it matter? I backed toward the stairs. He didn't move. I thought you were different, Trevor said softly. I thought you'd understand. Understand what? That everyone's just parts. Skin, bone, muscle. We're all the same underneath. I turned and ran. Up the stairs, down the hall, out the front door. I didn't stop until I was 3 blocks away, gasping for air under a streetlight. I called the police. They came to Trevor's house that night. I waited outside with an officer while others went inside. They were down there for a long time. When they came back up, they looked pale. They found the freezer. They found the tools. They found notebooks filled with detailed sketches of human anatomy, dissection notes, and dates. Trevor was arrested. He didn't resist. He didn't say a word. Just looked at me once as they put him in the patrol car. Not angry, not sad. Just curious. Like he was still trying to figure me out. The trial happened months later. Turns out Trevor had been stealing body parts from the morgue where his mom worked. She had no idea. He'd been doing it for over a year. They called it morbid fascination. The judge called it disturbed. He was sent to a psychiatric facility. I never saw him again. But sometimes, late at night, I still think about that basement, about the freezer, about the way he smiled when he said, "It's a hobby." And I wonder how long he'd been planning to add me to his collection. Some people collect secrets the way others collect coins. They smile while they gather them, store them carefully, and when the time is right, they use them to destroy you. If you've ever had someone betray your trust in the worst possible way, leave a comment. I'd love to hear where you're tuning in from tonight. Her name was Sienna Cross, and she was the first person to talk to me on my first day at Lakewood Community College. I was 18, fresh out of high school, nervous and completely lost. I'd walked into the wrong classroom twice before finally finding Introduction to Psychology. That's where I saw her. Blonde hair pulled into a messy bun, oversized sweater, bright smile. She waved me over to the empty seat beside her. "First day?" she asked. "That obvious?" She laughed. "You look like a deer in headlights. Don't worry, everyone does at first." We clicked instantly. Sienna was warm, funny, and easy to talk to. She had this way of making you feel like you'd known her forever. By the end of the week, we were having lunch together every day. By the end of the month, we were inseparable. She invited me to her apartment off campus, a cozy one-bedroom place filled with plants, fairy lights, and posters of indie bands I'd never heard of. We'd stay up late talking about everything. Childhood trauma, bad relationships, dreams, fears. I told her things I'd never told anyone, about my parents' divorce, about the anxiety I'd battled since middle school, about the guy in high school who'd spread rumors about me and made my senior year hell. Sienna listened. She never judged. She just nodded and said things like, "You deserved better," or, "I'm so glad you're here now." I thought I'd finally found a real friend. Someone who understood me. Someone I could trust. I was wrong. It started small. Little things I didn't think much of at the time. One afternoon, I was at Sienna's apartment studying for midterms. She got up to make tea, leaving her phone on the couch beside me. It buzzed. I glanced at it without thinking. The notification was from a group chat I didn't recognize. The preview read, "Wait until you hear what she told me today." I looked away quickly, feeling guilty for even seeing it. But something about it stuck with me. A few days later, I noticed people staring at me in the student center. Not obviously, just quick glances, whispers, smirks. I brushed it off. Told myself I was being paranoid. But then it happened again in the library, and again in the cafeteria. One girl I barely knew walked past me and muttered, "Wow, didn't know you were like that." I stopped her. "What are you talking about?" She looked uncomfortable. "Nothing, forget it." "No, seriously, what did you hear?" She hesitated, then sighed. "Just some stuff about you, personal stuff. I don't know if it's true." "What stuff?" She shook her head and walked away. I felt sick. That night I confronted Sienna. We were at her apartment again, the place that had always felt safe. "People are saying things about me," I said carefully. "Personal things. Things I've only told you." Sienna's face shifted, just for a second. A flicker of something I couldn't read. Then she smiled. "That's crazy. Who would do that?" "I don't know, but it's stuff only you know." She laughed, but it sounded forced. "Are you seriously accusing me? I'm your best friend." "I'm not accusing you. I'm just asking." "Well, maybe you told someone else and forgot. Or maybe people are just making stuff up because they're bored." She sounded convincing. I wanted to believe her. So I did, for a while. But the rumors didn't stop. They got worse. Someone posted on an anonymous campus forum that I'd cheated on an ex-boyfriend. I hadn't. Someone else said I'd stolen money from a roommate. Also not true, but people believed it. I started eating lunch alone, stopped going to parties, stopped trusting anyone. Then one night, I got a message from a girl named Bree. I didn't know her well, but we'd worked on a group project together once. Bree: "Hey, I need to tell you something. It's about Sienna." My stomach dropped. Me: "What about her?" Bree: "She's been talking about you like a lot, and not in a good way." Me: "What do you mean?" Bree: "She has this whole group chat. She screenshots your texts and shares them, makes fun of the stuff you tell her. She calls it the vault." I stared at my phone, hands shaking. Me: "Are you sure?" Bree: "I'm in the chat. I didn't know it was about you at first. But yeah, I'm sure. I'm sorry." She sent me screenshots, pages and pages of them. My private messages to Sienna, things I'd told her in confidence, about my anxiety, about my family, about the guy who hurt me in high school. All of it twisted, mocked, shared with strangers. There were photos too, pictures of me at her apartment, looking tired or crying or just existing. She'd captioned them with cruel jokes. "Look at her ugly crying again. She's so dramatic. Can't believe she actually thinks we're friends." I felt like I was going to throw up. The next day I didn't go to class. I stayed in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to process what I'd seen. How could someone do that? How could someone smile to your face, hug you, call you their best friend, and then destroy you behind your back? I wanted to confront her, but I didn't. Not right away. I needed proof, real proof. So I waited. A week later, Sienna invited me over. I said yes. When I got there, she greeted me with her usual bright smile. "I'm so glad you came. I feel like we haven't hung out in forever." I forced a smile back. "Yeah, it's been busy." We sat on her couch and she started talking about some guy she was seeing. I pretended to listen. Then she got up to use the bathroom. "Be right back," she said. The second she left, I grabbed her laptop from the coffee table. It was open, unlocked. I clicked through her files quickly, heart pounding. And there it was, a folder labeled The Vault. Inside were hundreds of screenshots, messages, photos, voice memos, all of me, all organized by date. Some went back months. She'd been doing this since the beginning. I heard the bathroom door open. I closed the laptop and sat back down just as she walked in. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I said quietly. "Actually, I need to go." "Already?" "Yeah, I'm not feeling great." She looked concerned. Fake concerned. "Okay, feel better? Text me later?" "Sure." I never did. Instead, I went to campus security. I showed them the screenshots Bree had sent me. I explained everything. They took it seriously. more seriously than I expected. Turns out, what Sienna was doing had a name: digital harassment, defamation, invasion of privacy. She was called into a meeting with the dean. I wasn't there, but I heard about it later. She cried, said it was all a misunderstanding, that she was just venting to friends. But the evidence was clear. She was suspended for a semester. Most of the people in her group chat distanced themselves from her. Some even apologized to me. I didn't forgive them. I transferred schools the following year, started fresh somewhere new. I don't talk about Sienna anymore. I don't think about her, or at least I try not to. But sometimes late at night, I still wonder, how many other people did she do this to? How many other friends did she collect, document, and destroy? And how many of them are still out there, smiling in her photos, completely unaware that they're part of her vault? Title: Story 3 of 5, The Cabin Weekend. I was 23 when I agreed to go on that trip. Looking back, I should have known better. But when you're desperate to belong, you ignore the warning signs. My name is Kelsey, and I'd been hanging out with this group for about 6 months. There were 4 of them: Mara, the ringleader, sharp-tongued and magnetic; Brooke, her best friend, always laughing at Mara's jokes; Dylan, quiet but mean when he wanted to be; and Cody, the wild card, unpredictable and loud. I met them through work. We all did customer service for a tech company in Portland. The job was miserable, so we bonded over that. At least I thought we bonded. They invited me to happy hours, group chats, weekend hangouts. It felt good to be included, but there were moments that made me uneasy. The way they'd laugh a little too hard when I said something awkward. The inside jokes I was never part of. The way they'd go quiet when I walked into a room. I told myself I was overthinking it, that I was just insecure. So when Mara suggested a weekend trip to her family's cabin in the mountains, I said yes immediately. "It'll be fun," she said. "Just the 5 of us. No work, no stress, just hiking, drinking, and hanging out." I packed light. A duffel bag with clothes, toiletries, and a book I knew I wouldn't read. We left on a Friday afternoon, piling into Dylan's SUV. The cabin was about 3 hours away, deep in the Cascade Range. The drive was fine at first. Music, laughter, stupid jokes. But the further we went, the quieter it got. The roads narrowed. The trees pressed closer. By the time we arrived, the sun was setting, casting long shadows across the clearing where the cabin sat. It was bigger than I expected. 2 stories, wraparound porch, dark wood that blended into the forest. "This is amazing," I said. Mara smiled. "Wait until you see inside." The interior was rustic but comfortable. Stone fireplace, leather couches, a kitchen with old copper pots hanging from the ceiling. Upstairs were 3 bedrooms. Mara and Brooke took one. Dylan and Cody took another. I got the small room at the end of the hall. It had a single bed, a window overlooking the trees, and a faint smell of cedar. The first night was normal. We made dinner, drank beer, played cards by the fire. Everyone was in a good mood. I started to relax. Maybe this trip was exactly what I needed. But then Mara suggested a game. "Let's play truth or dare," she said, grinning. I groaned. "Aren't we a little old for that?" "Come on," Brooke said. "It'll be fun." I should have said no. The game started innocently enough. Cody was dared to chug a beer. Brooke admitted she'd stolen from her last job. Dylan confessed he'd lied on his resume. Then it was my turn. "Truth or dare?" Mara asked, eyes glinting. "Truth," I said. She leaned forward. "Do you ever feel like you don't really fit in with us?" The room went quiet. I forced a laugh. "What kind of question is that?" "Just answer it," she said. I hesitated. "I mean, sometimes, but I think everyone feels that way, right?" Mara smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Interesting." The game continued, but the energy had shifted. The dares got meaner. The truths got more personal. And most of them were aimed at me. By the time we went to bed, I felt drained. I lay in the small room, staring at the ceiling, listening to muffled laughter from downstairs. I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd made a mistake coming here. The next morning, I woke up to an empty cabin. No voices, no movement. I walked downstairs. The fire was out. The kitchen was clean. Their bags were still by the door, but no one was around. I checked outside. Dylan's SUV was gone. My stomach dropped. I pulled out my phone. No signal. I walked around the clearing, holding my phone up, trying to find even one bar. Nothing. Then I saw it. A note tacked to the porch railing. Gone hiking. Be back by noon. Me. I looked at my watch. It was already 11:30. I waited. Noon came and went. 1 p.m., 2 p.m. Still no one. I tried to stay calm. Maybe they lost track of time. Maybe the trail was longer than they thought. But by 3 p.m., I was starting to panic. Why didn't they wake me? Why didn't they invite me? I went back inside and searched for a landline. There wasn't one. I checked the kitchen for food. Most of it was gone. They'd packed it. My chest tightened. I went upstairs to their rooms. Empty. All their stuff was gone, bags, clothes, everything. The only things left were mine. I ran outside, screaming their names. Mara, Brooke, Dylan, Cody. The forest swallowed my voice. No echo, no response. Just silence. I stood there, breathing hard, trying to think. They left me. They planned this. The game, the questions, the note. It was all part of it. I was the joke. I went back inside and tried to stay rational. I had water. I had some snacks in my bag. I could walk out. The main road was 3 hours by car, but on foot, maybe 6 or 7 hours. It was already late afternoon, but I had no choice. I grabbed my bag and started walking. The dirt road was long and winding. The trees on either side were dense, blocking most of the light. Every sound made me jump. A branch snapping, a bird cawing, the rustle of leaves. I walked for what felt like hours. My legs ached, my throat was dry. I checked my phone every few minutes, hoping for a signal. Still nothing. Then I heard it. An engine behind me. I turned, heart leaping. Headlights, Dylan's SUV. It slowed as it approached, and the window rolled down. Mara leaned out, smiling. Hey, where are you going? I stared at her, speechless. We were just messing around, she said. It was a prank. Brooke leaned forward from the back seat, laughing. You should see your face. Dylan smirked from the driver's seat. Come on, get in. We'll take you back. I didn't move. You left me, I said quietly. It was a joke, Mara said, still smiling. Don't be so sensitive. You took everything. You drove away. We were going to come back, Cody said. Eventually. I looked at them, at their faces. They weren't sorry. They were entertained. No, I said. What? Mara asked. I'm not getting in. Her smile faded. Kelsey, don't be dramatic. It's getting dark. I don't care. Fine, she said, rolling up the window. Your loss. The SUV drove off, leaving me in a cloud of dust. I kept walking. It took me another 3 hours to reach the main road. A truck driver picked me up and drove me to the nearest town. I called a cab from there. I never spoke to them again. I blocked their numbers. I quit my job 2 weeks later. I moved to a different city. But sometimes, late at night, I still think about that cabin, about the way they smiled when they left me. And I wonder how many other people they've done this to, how many other jokes they've played, and whether anyone else walked out of those woods alone. Some friends don't just walk away when you need them. They stay close, whispering promises, offering help you didn't ask for. And by the time you realize what they're really after, it's already too late. If you've ever had someone get a little too involved in your life, drop a comment below. And let me know what time it is where you're listening from. I met Lauren Finch during the worst year of my life. It was 2019, and everything was falling apart. My mom had just been diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. My boyfriend of 4 years had left me for someone else, and I'd just been let go from my job due to budget cuts. I was 26, broke, emotionally shattered, and living alone in a cramped studio apartment in Austin. I didn't have the energy to make new friends, but Lauren found me anyway. We met at a support group for families dealing with cancer. It was held in a church basement every Thursday night. Folding chairs, weak coffee, and people who looked just as tired as I felt. Lauren sat next to me the first night I showed up. She had kind eyes, a soft voice, and a calm presence that felt almost maternal. She introduced herself during the break. "First time here?" she asked. I nodded. "Yeah, my mom was just diagnosed." "I'm so sorry," she said, and she sounded like she meant it. "My dad went through it 2 years ago. He's in remission now." "That's good," I said, trying to smile. "It's hard," she said, "but you'll get through it, and if you ever need anything, I'm here." I didn't think much of it at the time, just a kind stranger offering comfort. But Lauren didn't stay a stranger for long. She started texting me after meetings, checking in, asking how my mom was doing, how I was doing. At first, I appreciated it. It felt good to have someone who cared. Then she started offering to help. "Let me know if you need a ride to the hospital," she'd say. "I can bring you dinner if you're too tired to cook. I'm free this weekend if you need someone to talk to." I took her up on it once. My mom had a chemo appointment, and I didn't have a car. Lauren picked us both up, drove us to the hospital, waited in the lobby, and drove us home. She didn't ask for gas money. She didn't complain. She just smiled and said, "That's what friends are for." After that, she became a regular part of my life. She'd show up at my apartment with groceries. She'd text me every morning with motivational quotes. She'd call me at night to check in. It was nice, almost too nice. But I didn't question it. I needed the help. I needed the support. And Lauren seemed happy to give it. Then one day, she asked me something strange. We were sitting in my apartment, drinking tea, talking about my mom's treatment plan. "Do you have a will?" Lauren asked suddenly. I blinked. "A will?" "Yeah, like in case something happens. It's important to have things in order." "I'm 26, I said, laughing nervously. "I don't really have anything to put in a will." "You'd be surprised," she said. "Bank accounts, insurance policies, personal items. It all adds up." I didn't know what to say. "Just something to think about," she added, smiling. I changed the subject, but the question stuck with me. A few weeks later, Lauren brought it up again. This time, she offered to help me set one up. "I work in estate planning," she said. "I can walk you through it, no charge." "I don't know," I said. "I don't really think I need one." "Everyone needs one," she insisted, "especially with everything you're going through. What if something happens to you? Who would take care of your mom?" She had a point, but something about the way she said it made my skin crawl. I told her I'd think about it. That's when things started to feel off. Lauren began showing up unannounced, at my apartment, at the hospital. Once I ran into her at the grocery store, even though she lived on the other side of town. "What a coincidence," she said, smiling. But it didn't feel like a coincidence. I started noticing other things too. She knew details about my life I hadn't told her. Like the name of my ex-boyfriend, the street I grew up on, the name of my mom's oncologist. When I asked how she knew, she'd just shrug and say, "You must have mentioned it." But I hadn't. One night, I came home to find my apartment door unlocked. I was sure I'd locked it. I always locked it. I walked in slowly, heart pounding. Nothing seemed out of place, but something felt wrong. I checked my bedroom, my closet, under the bed. Everything looked normal. Then I noticed my desk. The drawer was slightly open. I never left it open. I pulled it all the way out. My documents were there. Birth certificate, social security card, insurance papers. But they'd been moved. I knew, because I kept them in a specific order. Someone had been through them. I grabbed my phone and called Lauren. She answered on the first ring. "Hey, what's up? Did you come by my apartment today?" I asked. "No, why?" "Someone was in here." "Are you serious? Did you call the police?" "I don't know. Nothing's missing, but my stuff was moved." "That's so creepy," she said. "Do you want me to come over?" "No," I said quickly. "I'm fine." "Are you sure?" "Yeah." I hung up, but I wasn't fine. I started paying closer attention, and that's when I found it. A key. A spare key to my apartment. I kept it hidden under a fake rock near my door. It was gone. I changed the locks the next day. I didn't tell Lauren, but she noticed. "Did you change your locks?" she asked casually the next time we met. "How did you know?" She smiled. "I tried to drop off some food for you, but my key didn't work." My blood went cold. "Your key?" "Yeah, the spare. You gave it to me, remember?" "No," I said slowly. "I didn't." Her smile faltered. "You must have forgotten." "I didn't forget, Lauren. I never gave you a key." She stared at me for a long moment. Then she laughed. "Okay, you're right, I found it. I just wanted to help. I didn't think you'd mind." "You went into my apartment without asking." "I was just bringing you groceries," she said, her voice rising. "I was trying to be a good friend." "That's not being a good friend," I said. "That's breaking in." Her face changed. The warmth was gone, replaced by something cold. "After everything I've done for you," she said quietly, "this is how you treat me." "I think you should leave," I said. She stood up slowly. "You're going to regret this." I didn't respond. She left without another word. I blocked her number. I stopped going to the support group. I thought it was over. But 2 weeks later, I got a call from my bank. Someone had tried to open a credit card in my name. The application had been denied because of a fraud alert I'd set up years ago. But the attempt was there. I filed a police report. They investigated. It traced back to Lauren. She'd used my information, my social security number, my address, my mother's maiden name, all things she'd collected while pretending to help me. She was arrested a month later. Turns out I wasn't the first. She'd done this to at least 5 other people. All of them vulnerable. All of them alone. She'd befriend them, gain their trust, gather their information, and then drain their accounts or open lines of credit in their names. Some of them lost thousands. One woman lost her house. Lauren got 3 years. But the damage she did will last far longer. I still think about her sometimes, about how easily she slipped into my life, how convincing she was, how much I trusted her. And I wonder how many other Laurens are out there, waiting in church basements and coffee shops, smiling, offering help, collecting pieces of you one by one until there's nothing left to take. Sometimes the most dangerous person in your life isn't a stranger. It's the friend who knows exactly where you live, exactly when you're alone, and exactly how far they can push before you break. Before we dive in, I'd love to know, have you ever felt watched by someone you thought you could trust? Drop a comment and tell me where you're listening from tonight. I moved into the Riverside Apartments in October of 2020. It was a quiet complex on the edge of town, surrounded by oak trees and a creek that ran behind the parking lot. 12 units total, all single story, arranged in a horseshoe around a shared courtyard. I was in Unit 7, ground floor, corner unit, with a sliding glass door that opened onto a small patio. I liked the privacy. I liked the quiet. I'd just ended a long relationship and needed space to figure out who I was without someone else. The first week was uneventful. I unpacked, set up my furniture, learned the rhythm of the place. The couple in Unit 5 argued every night. The guy in Unit 3 played guitar at odd hours. The woman in Unit 9 had a dog that barked at squirrels. And then there was Vanessa. She lived in Unit 8 right next to me. We shared a wall. I met her on my 5th day there. I was carrying groceries from my car when she appeared, seemingly out of nowhere. "Hey neighbor," she said, smiling. She was maybe 30, with dark hair pulled into a ponytail, wearing yoga pants and an oversized hoodie. "Hey," I said, fumbling with my keys. "I'm Vanessa. I live next door." "I'm Claire. Need help with those?" she asked, nodding at my bags. "I'm good, thanks." "Cool. Well, if you ever need anything, just knock. I'm usually home." "Thanks," I said, smiling politely. She waved and disappeared back inside her unit. I didn't think much of it. Just a friendly neighbor. But Vanessa had a way of being everywhere. The next morning, I opened my door to get the mail, and she was standing in the courtyard, watering plants. "Morning," she called out. "Morning." "How'd you sleep?" "Fine," I said, a little caught off guard by the question. "Good. These walls are thin. I can hear everything." She laughed like it was a joke, but something about it made me uncomfortable. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing her more. She'd be outside whenever I came home from work. She'd knock on my door to ask if I needed anything. Once, she brought over cookies she said she'd baked. "I made too many," she said. "Didn't want them to go to waste." They were good, but I didn't ask for them. And I hadn't told her I liked cookies. One night I was sitting on my patio, reading a book with a glass of wine. It was late, maybe 10 o'clock. The courtyard lights were dim, and the only sound was the creak behind the building. Then I heard it, a soft scraping sound, metal on concrete. I looked up. Vanessa was standing just beyond the edge of my patio, half hidden in shadow. "Oh, hey," she said, stepping into the light. "Didn't mean to scare you." "You didn't," I lied. "What are you doing out here?" "Just walking, couldn't sleep." "Oh." She stood there for a moment, just looking at me. "What are you reading?" I held up the book. She nodded but didn't move. "Well, don't let me interrupt," she said finally, and then she walked away. But I felt her eyes on me the whole time. After that, I started keeping my curtains closed. I stopped sitting on the patio at night.
And I made sure my sliding door was locked.
But Vanessa kept showing up. She'd knock on my door at random times. Once at 7 in the morning, once at 11 at night. She always had an excuse. "Do you have any sugar? Can I borrow your Wi-Fi password? Did you hear that noise?" I started pretending I wasn't home, but she knew. One day, I came home from work to find a note slipped under my door. "Hey Claire, I knocked earlier, but you didn't answer. Just checking in. Hope you're okay. V." I crumpled it up and threw it away. The next week, I found another note. "Saw you leave this morning. You look tired. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. V." Then another. "I noticed you haven't been sitting outside anymore. Everything okay? V." I stopped reading them. But they kept coming. One night I woke up to a sound, a soft tapping, tap, tap, tap. I sat up, heart pounding. It was coming from the sliding glass door. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. Vanessa was standing on my patio, looking in. I screamed. She didn't move, just stood there, staring. I ran to the door and yelled through the glass. "What are you doing?" "I wanted to make sure you were okay," she said calmly. "Get away from my door. You haven't been answering. I was worried." "Leave me alone!" She stood there for another moment. Then she turned and walked away. I called the landlord the next morning, told him everything. The knocking, the notes, the late-night visit. He said he'd talked to her, but nothing changed. If anything, it got worse. I started hearing sounds through the wall. Scratching, tapping. Sometimes it sounded like she was pressing her ear against it. Listening. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't relax. I felt like I was being watched every second I was in my own home. One day, I came home to find my sliding door slightly open. I knew I'd locked it, I always locked it. I walked through my apartment slowly. Nothing seemed out of place, but I could feel it. Someone had been inside. I checked my bedroom, my closet. Everything looked normal. Then I saw it. On my nightstand, a photo. It was a picture of me, asleep in my bed, taken from the doorway. My hands started shaking. I grabbed my phone and called the police. They came within 20 minutes. I showed them the photo. I told them everything. They knocked on Vanessa's door. She answered with a smile. "Can I help you?" They asked her about the photo. She denied everything, said she'd never been in my apartment, said I must be confused, stressed. They couldn't prove anything. No forced entry, no witnesses, just my word against hers. They told me to file a restraining order if I felt unsafe. I did. The hearing was 2 weeks later. Vanessa showed up in a nice dress, hair done, makeup perfect. She cried on the stand, said I'd been the one harassing her, that I was unstable, that I'd been leaving her threatening notes. She had evidence. Notes, apparently written by me, but I'd never written them. The handwriting didn't even match mine, but it didn't matter. The judge denied my request, said there wasn't enough evidence of a credible threat. I moved out the next day, broke my lease, lost my deposit. I didn't care. I couldn't stay there. I found a new place across town, a building with security cameras and a locked entry. I didn't tell anyone where I was going, not even my family. For a while, I felt safe. But then, 3 months later, I saw her at the grocery store, standing at the end of the aisle, watching me. She didn't say anything, just smiled. I left my card and walked out. I haven't seen her since, but sometimes, late at night, I hear tapping, soft and rhythmic. Tap, 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 and I check the locks. All of them. Every single one. Because I know she's still out there, waiting, watching, remembering where I used to live, and wondering where I am now.